It's your girl, the Grown Woman Gamer, and today I'm coming at you to discuss what's on everybody's mind this past week. Of course, the Astroworld Tragedy. So far, 9 people have been declared officially dead, and there are 9 families here in the States that are mourning the loss of their pretty young children. And there's a 9-year-old kid who is currently on life support in a medically induced coma because he has swelling in his brain and pretty significant damage to his internal organs. I'm not going to go over what occurred because I'm assuming that if you clicked on this video, at least have a general awareness of what happened last weekend. But today I'm going to address a subject that has been discussed in my home and I'm sure in other people's homes as well. And that's whether or not we believe that Travis Scott should be personally held responsible for what occurred. And the first thing that I'm going to say is that there is no simple answer to this question. And when I say that, I'm saying that to state the obvious that Travis Scott is one of a few entities that we can place the blame with. Obviously, Live Nation, the production company, the promoter, security. I'm not going to say let's blame the medical personnel because it's the responsibility of the people producing an event like that to make sure that the people that are hired are people that are prepared to address a worst case scenario. But there are government agencies like the fire department or the police department or even the city of Houston or Harris County where there could be some blame placed with certain elected officials. So I'm just going to state before we get to Travis that I think there is a shared responsibility across all of these people because there were errors and missteps made from start to finish that could have potentially prevented the horrible tragedy that occurred. So, in short, I don't think we can place singular blame with Travis Scott. And that's not me letting him off the hook because, as you'll see if you continue to listen to this video, that I have some pretty strong opinions about his responsibility in all of this. So, with that said, let's get into the meat of this. So, some things we know about Travis Scott if we follow his career, if we paid attention to um, him as he's grown and as his popularity has grown. His brand and the way that he's marketed, especially as it relates to his music, his concerts, the Travis Scott concert experience, features a single guy on stage, normally on a stage that has some artistic creativity put into it. Um, no backup dancers. He typically doesn't have like your hype man. For those people that follow hip hop, a lot of times, at least back in the day, I don't know if they do that as much anymore. You used to have like the main guy. He had a hype man, and sometimes there were women dancing, men dancing in the background, depending on the artist. You might have a DJ spinning, um, and it was just about getting the crowd hype. And there's definitely like a different energy. He typically comes on stage by himself unless he's doing performing a song where he has a feature from another artist, and he has like this very I hesitate to use the word chaotic energy, but it's definitely a very high energy, intense um, experience when you witness it, whether you're in person or if you're watching it on your phone or on the TV or whatever. And so he has a reputation, and we're gonna get to the more, I won't say sinister, but the more negative aspects of this whole energy that he creates. He definitely has a reputation for um, having concerts where his audiences are very um, it's a very, I use the word frenetic or intense. It's just this, it's like a very intense energy that they're bringing, and it's very lively. And I'm I'm trying not to use words that have negative connotations because we are going to get to that, but it's just a lot. And for someone who's an adult, I'm probably almost twice the age of the majority of the victims. Um, I know I personally would not feel comfortable inside of that energy, inside of that type of a crowd. People get rowdy. It can become chaotic. You can even use the word mayhem. um, and he calls his hive the Ragers, and he encourages his fans to come to his concerts and completely let loose, let go, and tap into this crazy energy that is supposed to make them feel free and make them feel like they're not caged. And for young people, that's a dream come true because we're living in a time where we all feel confined because of the pandemic, because of everything that's happened in the last couple of years. A lot of people have a great deal of pent up energy from just not being able to live what we used to think of as a normal life. And his fans, even before that, were taking part in a musical experience that's kind of built around rebellion, and built around kind of disavowing convention. And it has gone to a place where it shouldn't it shouldn't have ever got to. But there were so many different things leading up to this. If you look at other concert experiences that Travis Scott has given his fans, people have got hurt. He has repeatedly disrespected the security personnel and undermined their authority with his own audience. He has personally undermined their authority to police him as the artist. Um, there's one young man who was paralyzed allegedly. I'm not gonna say he wasn't paralyzed, but he's encouraged fans to act in a violent nature towards other concert goers who didn't behave in a fashion that he felt was appropriate. Somebody, I guess, tried to steal one of his shoes or steal his shoes. And he encouraged people to F them up. And it's it's a very chaotic environment that he's been creating over the course of the last several years, especially as his popularity has reached like a height that a lot of people probably didn't expect from an artist like him. Um, and I've heard people say, well, what do you like about him? His music's not that great. I followed it a lot. I've said this before, but I love hip hop music. I love hip hop culture. And I've loved hip hop since I was a young girl. And I've seen a lot of artists. And I stand by this because I try to be as truthful as I can. And people can, just opening up my sparkling water here. Forgive me for the background noise. But I, I've heard people kind of look at me like I was crazy when I said that I think he's a brilliant artist. I do. I think he is a brilliant young artist. I think that he has created a sound that um, is is unique, and I've enjoyed a lot of his music. And I'd be lying if I said that that wasn't true. But we've had all these instances where it was foreshadowing the tragedy that occurred a week ago. And it's like a drunk driver. If you have somebody who gets arrested for drinking and driving multiple times, they don't kill anyone, but let's say they get pulled over, they're over the blood alcohol limit that's allowable in that state, and they get arrested, they lose their license, they go to whatever classes, they get it back, they do it again. It's just seesawing back and forth, with their ability to get behind the wheel. And then one day that person drinks and drives, goes out and kills someone with their vehicle and walks away. We can't say, "Oh, this is an isolated incident. This is just unbelievable. We can't believe this happened." if you're systematically um, encouraging a certain type of environment that had has led to casualties and people being hurt, eventually it could go a lot further than one person being hurt. Do we put that all on Travis Scott? No. I personally don't think that that's fair because there are other artists in other genres of music that have encouraged that rowdy, chaotic environment. Um, and he's tapping into that. Like, there's a blueprint for what Travis Scott is, what he brings to the table, and the way he presents himself. He didn't invent what he designed. Somebody else invented it. He is just taking it to another level, and he's embodying that energy in a different form. Because normally we would expect the mosh pit. I'm gonna keep it real with a lot of white kids who are listening to heavy metal music or a completely different genre of music that is more marginalized. Rap is front and center. So now you have this guy who's considered a rapper, one of those popular artists in the world. And when I say popular, you might not like him, but there are millions of children and young people and adults who really like his music. And I'm one of them, and I'm not in my 20s or I'm barely in my 30s. So he's got all this fame. Then you add the Kardashian element to it. And I know this may seem irrelevant, but the fact is that the men that they date get a certain type of visibility by virtue of their visibility, their influence, their access. So now he is partnering with huge brands, worldwide, um, international brands like Nike and McDonald's and Fortnite. These are some of the most powerful and influential brands in the world. So his visibility, his power, his influence, his money, he's just rocketing up, right? So this element that he has been fostering throughout the more recent parts of his career, maybe even going back to the beginning of his career, there's a where before you might have a more marginalized genre of music with a smaller number of people in a mosh pit acting crazy, you now have a guy who could get 12 million people to watch a Fortnite concert, having a live concert in COVID time, in the COVID era. We can call this the COVID era, where you'll have 50,000 people in one place. And I said in my last video, and I stand by this, the biggest mistake that they made was allowing 50,000 people to be in one place at one time. And this, I mean, it's just ludicrous. Regardless of what you feel about COVID, it's not gone, and I don't think I saw a mask. Maybe I saw a security guard wearing a mask, but it seemed like those people were literally breathing into each other's faces. It's just, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going there, but this was bound to happen. This was bound to happen. So where he holds responsibility, in my opinion, is in encouraging his young impressionable fans to feel empowered to behave in a way that could ultimately lead to bad consequences for them. There's there's nothing positive that we can hope for if we illegally enter a venue. There's nothing positive that we can hope for if we jump off of a pretty high balcony and are thinking that people are going to catch us, or if we get pushed off, or if we encourage people to act in a violent nature towards someone else. None of these things, or if we encourage people to disrespect authority that could be wielding a weapon. Like, regardless of how you feel about the freedom that comes with that level of rebellion and that level of just, I don't care, or indifference, apathy, whatever you want to call it, for a normal person, the consequences are probably going to outweigh the potential fun or happiness that you get while you're feeling quote unquote free. And I think he let his fans down by even co-signing the behavior to begin with. And as a result, it's like the example I gave with the drunk driving. I just can't think about this as an isolated incident. It's hard to look at it like it's separate from everything else leading up to it. And so I think he should be held personally responsible. I don't think he should be the only person held responsible. I think that everyone else involved in allowing this event to take place, who was involved in the decision making about security, medical personnel, um, the infrastructure that needed to be in place to support an event with 50,000 young people, even the decision to allow children under a certain age to come in, all these things, they have to be accounted for. All these decisions, anyone sitting in a decision maker seat that executed on this event needs to be taken to task, period, including Travis Scott. And those are my thoughts. I'm not going to get too long-winded. There's so much that I have to say about this because it's just something about the story has just really rocked me. It's just super sad. I just continue to pray for all of the people that were impacted by this. And I thank you guys for listening to my video. If you want to subscribe, great. But either way, I just appreciate everyone that has listened to my videos, and I hope that everyone stays safe. All right, y'all. I'm out.